Are you looking to establish a powerful online presence for your brand? Look no further than Live the Dream Media. Our team of experts possess the capabilities and skills necessary to make it happen. From creating compelling content to analyzing data and making strategic decisions, we've got it covered. Don't let a lack of social media know-how hold you back. Visit ltdmedia.net for more information.
Welcome back to another episode of Local Marana, and it's Meet the Mayor with Ed Honea. Good morning, Ed.
Good morning, Clint. How are you today?
I'm awesome. Another chilly day in the desert, but
just beautiful day in paradise.
A lot of sun. So what have you got for us today, Ed?
Well, I wanted to talk about the political scene locally, countywide, statewide, and nationally. And I only need 4 or 5 hours. And
okay.
We don't have that much time, so I'm going to try to do the Reader's Digest portion of it. Maybe I talk a little bit about the council elections to get started.
Okay.
And our council members, Herb Kai, Vice Mayor John Post, John Officer, and Patty Comerford were easily reelected. And I think what that says is people are happy with what's happening in our community. Mm-hmm. They're happy with the growth, they're happy with police protection, they're happy with parks, and they're happy with what we're doing. And a lot of things that our local political people are doing, we're building a new community center. Well, that was a big bite, and that's a huge building. And I may talk to you about that a little bit later, but our local political group's doing pretty well. We work together. There's not a lot of infighting, and we're doing everything we can to push Marana forward.
Knowing all those people and being involved with them, they really care about Marana. You and the councilmen and women all really care. This is their home.
It's one of the senior councils in the state, not just the county. Mm-hmm. It is the senior council in the county. And many of us have been there a long time. Several, John Post and Herb Kai, were raised in the community as I was. John Officer's lived here a long time. Patty's been here 30 years. We have experience with what the community wants and needs. So we try to do things correctly. We're not afraid to move forward. And sometimes we have to make really tough decisions, but we're not afraid to do things that sometimes are not popular.
Right.
But you do it because you think it's best for the rest of the community.
I think part of the reason for that success is you guys are out in the community. Full disclosure, you and I just left breakfast at a local establishment here. A lot of people in the room. You're out there. I know Patty's out there. I know John. Both Johns are out there. Herb's out there talking to people in the community. Roxanne and Jackie.
Jackie
I don't want to leave,
as well.
I don't want to leave anybody out. But they're in the community. They're actively involved, not only as leaders, but as citizens of this community. And I think that's a big part of the reason for your success.
If you interact and listen to the people, and a lot of times people think, it's the big money corporate that comes in or that interest. It's really not. Most of us go to local churches. Our kids go to our local school. We're involved in local social organizations. And we hear what the people, just like us, the man and woman on the street, want and need.
Mm-hmm. Although there is a lot of growth going on here from the larger corporations. We saw a little of that this morning as well.
There's tons of stuff going on, and I would need a lot of time to
and
get
we
into
talk about
detail.
that in a later episode.
But I'd like to move forward a little bit, and talk about the District 17 elections in the state that just happened in November. And I'll be real honest with you, I supported some people, and they didn't get elected, and we had 3 new people. Mm-hmm. Justine Wadsack is now our senator. Corey McGarr is our rep, and Corey lives in Marana, and Justine is looking to buy a house in Marana. We may have 2 of those representatives, and Rachel Jones. And I didn't know them that well when they first got elected and didn't know what to expect. I will tell you, all three of them have hit the ground running up at the legislature, and they are doing things to help Marana. And I'll give you a couple examples. Justine Watsack knows that Marana has water, but we need water credits. You know, because of state law, you have to put a gallon back of credits for every gallon you pump. The wet water is not an issue with us. We have more than we'll ever use, but we don't have a lot of credits. Justine, in the first week she was there, set us up a meeting with ADWR, Arizona Department of Water Resources, with their director and us on a Zoom call. I mean, immediately out of the box.
And that's just been in the last few weeks.
Yeah, I mean, almost the first thing she did. And she's working really hard. And she said, you know, Mayor, if we can't get water there, I'm going to find you some water somewhere else. So she's really working hard for the town of Marana and its people. And I really appreciate that. The other two are in the State House, the House of Representatives, and that's Corey McGarr, who lives in Marana now in the Sorrel Bloom neighborhood, and Rachel Jones. There's a bill in the legislature that has about $38 million in funds for transportation work in the state, for the whole state. And a lot of this was excess money left over after COVID. You know, the feds were just shipping you money by the truckload. And so Representative Dunn, who's from the Maricopa County area, dropped a bill to spend a lot of that money, and not necessarily on bad projects, but pretty much all in the great state of Maricopa.
And what was the number again? I don't want
like $238 million. I think.
I knew you said a big
was
number.
A large
we didn't
amount
want to gloss
of money.
over that. $250 million.
Yeah. So what happened is Rachel and Corey, our representatives, went to him and said, "Hey, wait a minute. You got this large, it's one-time money. I mean, once it's gone, it's gone. It's not, you know. What about Southern Arizona? Or what about one of the communities in our district, District 17, which is Oro Valley and Marana, and it's bigger than that, but both of our communities are in it." And he kind of hem-hawed, well, you know, the legislature is set up. The Senate is 16-14 Republican. And the House is 31-29 Republican. If you're putting a bill forward, you need all the votes in your caucus, or pretty much all of them. You might get a couple from the other one, depending. And he's talking to them now. We're trying to get $10 million for the design of the Cortaro interchange. Cortaro interchange would be a $90 million project. We would do it the same as Ina, and it needs to be done that way. We need to go over the railroad track. We need more lanes. We need to move more traffic. There's just so much growth out in those areas now. And Rachel and Corey went to bat for us, specifically Marana. And the thing I want to say about them is hats off to them. And I can tell you, I was at an event that you will appreciate. I was at the prayer breakfast for Tucson for a couple weeks ago. Paul Parisi kind of heads that group and it's for elected officials, police, and fire. It's a prayer breakfast. Corey and Rachel were there, and there was only one other representative in that entire building. So maybe our people are people of faith as well. And I, you know, that means something to me. You know, that they took the time to do that.
Yeah.
But anyway, those people are working really hard for us. If you look at the state legislature now, you got a Republican Senate and House, really by one vote each.
Right.
And you got a fairly liberal Democrat governor. And they've got to work together. And on some of the bills, I think they will. I want to tell you a little bit more about a bill that just got introduced. It's Bill 1117, and it's introduced by Senator Kaiser, who is a Republican from Phoenix, to pretty much eliminate zoning in cities and towns and counties, and the state will take over all zoning, and things will be built helter-skelter, not only in Marana and Oro Valley, but any community in the entire state. And the bill is so convoluted. It's the worst bill I've ever seen in my 35 years in political life.
Yeah. A state zoning board.
And
that's
I got
nuts.
an official commitment from Senator Justine Watsack, that she was a firm no.
Yeah.
Well, Senate 1614 and stuff, and I don't think a lot of other Republicans are going to support that bill either.
Yeah.
It's maybe one of the worst bills in history, but our representatives are representing us.
Right.
If you go to the national scene, a guy that's a friend to you and to me, Juan Ciscomani.
Great guy.
Juan and Laura Ciscomani are great people. I have known them for 15 years, since they were with the Hispanic Chamber, and then Juan went to work for Governor Ducey and different things, but wonderful people. I am so proud of him. He was one of the freshmen that nominated, the Speaker in the House of Representatives. And he also gave a Spanish rebuttal to the State of the Union by President Biden yesterday, and did a phenomenal job. What a great person. Not only do I share his values and what he wants to do, he's a great family man. He and Laura have 6 children. They have a beautiful family. Great kids, a good support group and everything else. And Juan understands where he came from. He always talks about very proudly, my dad's a bus driver for the city of Tucson. But he said, we came here from Mexico legally. They became naturalized citizens, and that includes Juan, who came as a child. And we became citizens, and we work hard for what we get, and we're active in our church, we're active in our community, we're active in everything. We got a really good guy.
He's got a bright future. Our future is bright.
I look at him. The only thing that scares me is if you give a Republican administration, not that I'd be afraid of a Republican administration, but in 24, Juan Ciscomani is a person you'd pick up for a cabinet member or an ambassador to Mexico or one of those places. They're going to steal our superstar.
Maybe you can talk to him about that.
No,
Say, come
but
on,
I
Juan.
mean, he is just such a
you're right.
He and Laura are just wonderful people. Like I said, I've known them for years, and very, very proud of him and what he stands for and what he's trying to do.
Great guy. And the thing you mentioned, the 4 names you've mentioned during this podcast, they're all young people.
Yes, they are.
These are all young. This is the next generation of leaders. And I'd say the oldest one of the bunch can't be more than, 45 or so, maybe.
If that.
We're talking about a bunch of really young people now, which as we get older, and we talk about this ourselves a lot when we're out, we need that next generation to start
what I
stepping
look
up.
at, and with Senator Watsack or Representatives McGarr and Jones or Congressman Ciscomani.
That feels good to say, doesn't it?
I started calling him, I endorsed him early in his campaign, and I always called him Congressman every time he came to an event, and he says, how come you call me Congressman? I just said, I just want to get used to saying that. But they are young people.
Yeah.
And a lot of times in the political world, a lot of people are up there in age. That doesn't mean they're not doing a good job.
No one's implying that.
But what I'm saying is getting young people with young families involved to carry the ball as we move forward.
Right. We talk to a lot of people because we're always interested in what our future holds. And I don't see the interest in the young people as far as actually taking leadership roles. They're willing to vote. They're willing to pick a side. They're willing to get involved in the elections themselves. But to actually run, and I'll say this to you and any other person that chooses to run, it takes a special person to actually do that. I'm discovering that.
You have to be willing to take abuse, and you have to look at, I'm not walking a mile in your shoes.
Right.
A person will come to you, whether it's at the town level, the state level, the federal level, or whatever, and be very upset. They may call you names. They may even threaten you some and everything else. That young woman or young man, that young mother or father or whoever, really feels hurt by something that's happened, something that government has imposed on them or taken away from them or their family. And you have to look at it from that way. I will tell you personally, I have had people come to me after an election and really upset because I didn't support their person. And I'm not going to mention names because I haven't really asked them about it. The person that came to complain to me about that, I explained why I supported the other person and what they meant to our town and to me and different things like that. That person complaining ran my next 3 political campaigns for me. Yeah. You know, once they understand why, and you got to be transparent. In fact, I'll put a plug in for our State of the Town on April 6th. We're going to talk about transparency, being open, being an open book. And I'll tell you things that Marana does that I wish everybody would do. Our budget is on our webpage. Every dime we collect and every dime we spend is on there.
You know, I needed some information regarding Marana and was getting ready to make a few phone calls. And you know what? I Googled it. The town website had all the resources, actually more than what I needed.
In fact, maybe I'll put a little plug in for our speakers at our
Please do.
State of the Town. You know, because of my macular, it's hard for me to read a teleprompter, so we have speakers, and I speak as well. We're going to talk about transparency. The 3 speakers are Dan Morris, nighttime anchor for CBS News.
Great guy.
Who works in Marana at Channel 13 and lives in Marana in Willow Ridge neighborhood. Danelle Confair, who's the weekend anchor for Channel 9 News and lives in San Lucas, about a half a mile from where I live. And Vic Hathaway, who runs our communications department at the town. And what we're going to talk about is transparency. A lot of people think government try to hide things from people. You're not going to find that in the town of Marana, folks. We're going to be open. We're going to be honest. Sometimes we will do things you don't agree with, but we will be respectful of you and tell you why we are doing what we are doing. And I think that's going to be a great State of the Town. You know, of course, 2 news stars per se. Dan Murray's probably the dean of all news people in the Tucson region, southern Arizona. But he lives and works in Marana, and he loves our community. Yeah. So those are the people at our State of the Town. And again, it all comes back to the political. We're an open book. If you want me or Patty Comerford or somebody to come to your church, come to your social organization, come to your school, and talk to you about anything, we're there.
You're all. I see you all the time at a school, public event. I mean, you're at the ribbon cuttings and all those, but I see you guys a lot at schools and public events that people aren't even really aware of, engaging in the community. And you know, you mentioned transparency. Isn't transparency like the main ingredient to success of a community? Is everybody sharing open dialogue with each other?
Well, and that's the thing. We want people to see what we are doing, and we want people to question us. I'm going to be speaking at the Dove Mountain Civic Group. I'm going to be their keynote speaker at their meeting next month. And I will set out in front of a couple hundred people there on a stool. And you can ask me, I tell them, nothing is off limits.
Right.
Personal or professional. I'm just an open book. You may not like the book, but it's there for you to see. And our other council members, Patty Comerford's very active in a lot of organizations. John Officer is as well. Roxanne has spoken at a lot of different places. We're available to come and talk to you. And we want to be part of the community because we are part of the community.
So real quick right here to the listeners, call these folks up. Get them out to your events. Get them out to your discussions, your luncheons. Call them. Somebody's going to show up.
We will come. And I tell people, if you can get 8 or 10 people together for a cup of coffee and a donut, the only issue is you got to come and get me because of my eyesight. I'm very healthy, but I don't see well, so I don't drive. You want me to come to your event? Come and get me.
Yeah. Get him a donut. Come and get him.
Well, you don't even have to give me a donut and coffee, but I mean, I'm just trying to say it could be a simple event, 10 or 15 people in someone's home.
Yeah.
You want to talk about a park in your neighborhood. You want to talk about policing. You want to talk about roads. You want to talk about our future. We'll come and talk to you, and it's not just Ed.
Right.
It's all 7 of us, or even Terry Rosemer, or Eric Montague, in our management team, who are great people as well.
Out.
And we will speak to you. We will come and speak to you.
And if they can't drive, you know what? Get a hold of me, Ed. I'll take you. But I do want the donut and the coffee, okay?
All right. You can have the donut and the coffee. But it's kind of like politics. The old facet is it's a many-faceted poly, ticks, many-faceted blood-sucking parasites.
Yeah.
And people call me a politician, and I want to say I want to take the negative connotation out of that word. If I'm at an event with a bunch of young people, and they say, well, how should I address you, Mr. Mayor or whatever? I say, you can call me Grandpa Ed if you want to, because I'm proud of being a grandfather.
Yeah.
And you'll see me at those events. I'm walking around holding somebody's kid.
I've seen it. I've seen it.
Because I love children and I love young people and what how vibrant they are in our community.
Don't you love being around children? I mean,
to
kind of drift away here. I mean, I hear people talking about the kids and they're making so much racket.
But that's part of our politics in Marana. We are not there to rule over you. We are there as your chosen representatives to work with you and your family.
Okay, we're kind of coming to the end of this episode, Ed. So why don't you kind of button this all up for us? Just take what you've got here and kind of like give us the big, like you say, the 30,000 foot view of where we're at, what we're doing, and how we can do better at these things.
People will look at the national news. And sometimes you want to cut your wrist, and it doesn't matter on what side of the political aisle you're on, and all the adversity, and people just don't want to work together or don't. Start at your local level.
Absolutely.
Start at your school board. Start at your town council or your board of supervisors or those people. And work together. A person I didn't mention that I work with a lot. I'm a Republican, and Sharon Bronson is a Democrat.
Right.
I talk to her about twice a week for 30 minutes on the phone. Yeah. We still love this community.
Yeah.
And we love the area. I asked Sharon, I'm going to throw in a punch for her, to help a church in the region was having an issue getting a permit for a building. Mm-hmm. I called Sharon and I said, this is a church doing outreach for the community. Could you help me? She called the administration. Carmine DeSabonis called me. That church got their permit.
Beautiful.
So it's not Republican and Democrat.
Right.
She and I are different parties, but we're good friends.
And it's not just municipalities, because that's a municipality, Marana, and the county, Pima, working together.
But you can work together. This Republican mayor called a Democratic supervisor, and you know what? The winner are the people that this church outreach was going to serve.
Exactly.
So don't give up, people. And every single person does count. When you say, well, I'm just one person is important to me, I can tell you.
Now, I can throw this in. You can't sit back and expect someone else to do it for you. You yourself, as an individual in this community or any community, you have to get involved. You can't sit on your couch and complain about it. You can't sit on your couch and watch TV and say, I wish there was a better way. You need to get involved.
You need to know what's happening in your political entity. A lot of people are one-vote things.
Yeah.
I want a new park in such and such an area, and Ed supports that park, so I'm voting for him. Get to know a little bit more about Ed and what other things he does. You might not like the other things that that person does. Learn, pay attention, get involved. I know we're all busy, especially young people with families and jobs and things are really busy. Take a little bit of time, get involved in your school board or your town council or planning commission or whatever. Volunteer, do things, because that will have an effect on your family.
I was in another municipality. I was in a town hall meeting last night. I could see the sign. It said 258 was the occupancy. I'm sure we were well past that because I saw 30 or 40 people standing from where I was at, and every seat was full. Now, it was a hot button issue, so I would expect that. But that's the way. Come to, in this case, the Marana town meetings. Come and visit them. Go to the school board meeting. Talk to your friends and family. Call Ed. Call these people up, and let's get engaged. Because, as I said in a previous episode, if you like what's going on here, stay involved, stay active, keep the ball moving.
And
if you don't like what's involved, get involved. What's going on? Get involved, stay active, and bring the solutions to the table.
Call the town. If you talk to Linda, who runs my calendar and stuff in my office, Linda's just awesome. If she calls me and says, hey, Jane Doe would like to talk to you, you know what? I will call you.
Absolutely.
It might not be that day if I'm busy with meetings or other things. But if a citizen wants to talk to me, I will call you back personally.
I can vouch for that. I've never not received a call back from you, ever. And that, I could say that about every person over there at Marana.
Right.
Staff, elected officials, every person. I've never been left hanging on a phone call.
So we're not that person up there.
Yeah.
I live in your neighborhood.
Yeah.
You know, I walk in your parks. I'm protected by your police department. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm served by your fire district, and I have a lot of friends in the fire district as well. Northwest Fire is a godsend to Marana and the Abra Valley. They do such a wonderful job, and I have a lot of great friends over there too.
I want to give a real quick shout out. David did a recent episode with Officer
Ashley Espinosa. Isn't she? She is a police officer and a professional. I said, I just love that lady. And her husband's a police officer, too.
Just awesome episode. So I want to plug that.
Wasn't she great?
Oh, she was fantastic. And I want to plug that episode.
Right.
Find that if you want to find a little more about how our community works, especially the police department. That is a great episode to listen to.
Anyway, politics can be... It can work for you if you're willing to do a little work to get into that.
Right.
Now, you don't have to be a member, but you've got to have, your voice has to be heard.
And I would encourage, again, I've used the word young a couple times, young people get involved. Right. Pay attention to what's going on, because this is your future we're talking about. And Ed, as always, we took a little break for the holidays, but the holidays are over. We can't use that Happy New Year program anymore. We're almost to Valentine's Day.
It's time to get back to work. You know, the only time you might see me out walking around someday. If you see me, like I said, I don't see quite real well. Stop and say hi. Yeah. I'm happy to stop and speak to you.
Yeah, Ed, it's been a pleasure as always.
Thank you.
We'll be back again next week, guys. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.